Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating, something that affects pretty much every single one of us, yet it usually operates completely under the radar. Have you ever wondered why you can absolutely crush a massive project when the deadline is tomorrow, but that personal goal you set years ago, like finally learning French or, just cleaning out the garage, remains totally untouched? Well, we're going to expose the exact psychological mechanism behind why we delay action. We'll look closely at the invisible forces that govern our motivation, or actually our lack of it. So get ready, because what we're about to uncover might literally change the way you look at your own schedule forever.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why do we waste time when no immediate consequences exist? I want you to really think about that for a second. We so often label ourselves as lazy or just hopelessly disorganized when we procrastinate. But the root of the problem is actually something else entirely. It's really about the environment of our decisions. Think about it. When there's no fire to put out, no boss demanding an immediate update, no instant penalty for just doing nothing, why is our default setting so often total inaction? We all feel this universal behavioral symptom, but we rarely stop to diagnose the actual root cause. Well, it turns out it's not a character flaw at all. It's actually a matter of how our minds are biologically wired to perceive time and danger.
Section 1. The time illusion, exposing our mind's biggest blind spot.
To really understand why we delay things, we've got to realize that our internal clock is playing a massive trick on us. Our perception of time? It isn't some objective reality. It's a total construction of our brains. And frankly, our brains have a huge glaring blind spot when it comes to the future. It creates what is best described as a dangerous psychological illusion. Now, why use the word dangerous? Well, because an illusion that you're aware of is just a fun magic trick, right? But an illusion that you completely believe in, that dictates your entire reality. The belief that there's always more time tomorrow, next week, or next year is actively deceiving us. Sure, it feels comfortable, it feels safe in the moment, but that is exactly what makes it so perilous. This internal narrative lulls us into a false sense of security, basically convincing us that the resource of time is infinite.
Which brings us to Section 2. What is the urgency gap? Naming the invisible culprit.
So, we've established this illusion in our minds, but what do we actually call the space where this deception lives and breathes? Naming a problem is always the first step to dismantling it, right? It's known as the urgency gap. It's the phenomenon of wasting time specifically because no immediate consequences exist. Let's read that carefully. It's not just wasting time generally. The gap exists specifically because there is no immediate consequence. The absence of a threat is the very thing that triggers this gap. I mean, if you have a huge deadline in exactly 1 hour, there's no urgency gap. The consequence is right there staring you in the face. But if your goal has no deadline, wow, that is where the gap opens up and just swallows your productivity whole. The lack of an immediate threat is the actual trap.
Moving on to Section 3. The missing feedback loop. The mechanics of the brain's flaw. Now that we've named the gap, we need to understand the biological why. Why does our brain require immediate consequences to spark action? And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast. You see, our brains evolved for instant feedback. If you touch a hot stove, boom, the pain is instant. If you don't pay your electric bill, you're sitting in the dark pretty fast. Your brain instantly recognizes that negative feedback and forces you into action. But when there is no immediate consequence, like, say, putting off that novel you've always wanted to write, or ignoring that language learning app for the 100th time in a row, nothing bad happens to you today. The sky doesn't fall. And because there is no immediate pain or penalty, your brain just doesn't register a reason to exert any effort right now.
So the crucial point is that because there's no immediate pain, the brain assumes everything is perfectly fine. When negative feedback is completely missing in the present moment, your brain's baseline assumption is safety. It essentially tells you, hey, nothing's on fire, nobody's yelling at us, there is no crisis today, we are perfectly fine. The problem is, it cannot differentiate between true physical safety and the quiet long-term danger of neglecting a goal. The absence of an immediate consequence is interpreted by the brain as an absolute 100% endorsement of your current inaction. Let's move to and see how this builds chronologically. Step 1. You face a task with zero immediate negative feedback. Step 2. Because there's no immediate consequence, your brain assumes everything is totally fine right now. Step 3. Because everything is fine right now, the illusion of more time is created. You tell yourself, oh, I can just do it tomorrow, because today is perfectly comfortable. It's a completely logical, yet entirely self-destructive biological sequence. Your brain's eager attempt to keep you comfortable in the present is the exact thing that creates this dangerous illusion about your future.
Section 4. Your stolen years. The devastating aftermath of inaction.
We've talked about the mechanics, the biology, and the psychological sequence, But we really have to shift gears now and look at the actual reality of living inside this gap. When we succumb to the urgency gap day after day, the cumulative effect is profound and honestly sobering. Our time is quietly stolen away. Notice that word, quietly. The urgency gap doesn't rob you with some grand dramatic event. It doesn't announce its presence with alarms and sirens. It operates in absolute silence. Because there's no immediate negative feedback, the days blur into weeks, and the weeks blur into months. Your time isn't lost in a single catastrophe. It's quietly stolen away by the comfortable illusion that tomorrow will somehow magically be different than today.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it forces us to confront the invisible thief of our long-term potential, years lost to the illusion of time. We aren't just talking about a missed afternoon of work here. We are talking about the overarching trajectory of our entire lives. The sheer absence of immediate consequences is exactly what allows entire years to slip right through our fingers. We just sit there and wait for a sense of urgency to arrive naturally, completely not realizing that for our biggest, most important goals, that natural urgency, it's never going to come. The feedback loop will just remain silent.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. How many years are you letting slip into the urgency gap? The mechanics of this dangerous illusion are now fully laid bare. You know that if there are no immediate consequences, your brain is going to trick you into assuming everything is fine, whispering that there is always more time. But now that you understand this invisible thief, you have the power to artificially create that urgency yourself. Please, don't wait for the negative feedback to naturally arrive, because by the time it does, those years will have already been quietly stolen away. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Go out there and start closing the gap today.